right, so our project today is to create this application. Professor Dr. Poli Sci wants her students to be able to do some analysis of Congress. And so she'd like an app where they can sort through the members of Congress, looking at the parties of different congressmen, whether the Senate or House, and maybe able to sort just by state. So here are all of the congressmen from 2019. So it might have changed a little bit. And you can see it shows the SH here is Senate House. So R stands for House rather than H, just the way the data was. And then it has to be Senate, the state they come from, the party they are in, and their name, last name, comma, first. And then here it shows how many matches we have. So there's 541 matches in Congress. If I wanted to look at just the senators, I could turn House off. And now we're looking at just the senators. And as you would expect, we get 100 matches. If I want to look at just the House, I can turn just the House on and see all the House. Maybe I want to see only the Democrats in the House. And so one of the questions Poli Sci might ask her class is how many Democratic House of Representatives are there and how many Republicans are there? So they could quickly do this and go, oh, there's 242 Democrats, and then there's, I probably should have gotten rid of the independents here as well. We turn the independents off or other off. 237 Democrats, and then we have 199 Republicans. We do the same thing for the Senate. If I wanted to see just the state, or just for a particular state, I'm going to turn everything on. I got a little button here to show all. By the way, originally when I was doing this, I created this as a query button. So you'd set your switches here, put in your state, and you type in or click on query. And I thought, that's just one more step that a user shouldn't have to go through. So we're going to make this so that anytime they change any of this information, it automatically reflects the results. And then I changed that query button to a show all. I think that's a better design. It's a great example of how when you're building something, you might be thinking through the process and thinking, how can I make this better? And things like that present themselves. Okay, so I want to see just maybe Arizona. So I can come in here and type in Arizona and see all of the senators and Republicans, or all the senators and House of Representatives for Arizona. If I just want to look at the House, I can turn the Senate off. Maybe I want to look at just the Democrats or just the Republicans. I want to know how many people in Congress are not a Democrat or Republican. So again, I'm going to show all. So what the show all button does, it simply sets the text to nothing and sets all of these switches to is on. So we'll turn all of these off. And you can see there's basically 3 independents in Congress, along with 4 current vacancies. And we see the states they are from. So that's what we're going to create today. We're going to create a class and that will handle our data. And then in our main project, we will create an array of instances of that class. And then I created a little routine to do the querying of the data. That was really the hardest part of this whole project. So one of the things I sat down last night is I wanted to show a little bit of doing classes and try to come to something a little more practical and a large amount of data. Not that there's a huge amount of data, but there's 541 pieces of data we're going to put into this program. And we're going to use Excel to do that for us. So I'm going to show you, I like to use Excel for organizing data where it can be hard-coded. And then I just simply write a little formula in Excel to create the statement I want to use in my programming code, whether it's C# or Python or Swift, doesn't really matter. And then I can just copy and paste that into my code to do some hard coding. We'll look at down the road how to read this data in, maybe from a text file or from a database. So we're going to kind of start here just working with the data and massaging it by hard coding it in. All right, so with that, I'm going to start a new project here. Stop running my program here first. So I'm going to create a new project. It's going to be a single view app. I'm going to call it Congress Summer 2020. Summer 20. We're going to use Swift. We're going to use the Storyboard Interface. So I'm going to click Next. And we'll create our project. Now, I designed mine just for the iPad. So you can do either iPhone or iPad, which one you want, or both. I'll leave it set up both, but I'm going to design it for the iPad. So we're going to go to our main storyboard. And I'm going to come down here to View As at the bottom of my storyboard, and I want to go to Device. And I have a 10.5-inch iPad Pro, so that's what I'm going to design for. You can choose whatever device you like. And then bring up the library. I did a Command Option L to make it a window. We're going to start with a label. Up at the top, I'm going to stretch my label out. And a little bit of margin on the left and right. And then the properties for the label, the text, I'm going to say find your Congress member. I'm going to center the text. And then I'm going to change the font. And I'm going to choose a style of bold. And let's bring the size up to like maybe 40. Something like that. And then in the library, I'm going to go find the view. I'm going to drag a view underneath my title. Again, kind of those same margins. I'm going to create a box. This is going to be the search criteria. You can go in this. For those who've come out of the C# background, we created panels or group boxes. I'm sort of using the view that way. One thing I want to change here is I want to change the background color of it. So in the Attributes Inspector, I'm going to go to Custom, and you can choose any color you like. I'm going to do kind of a light blue. So I've got it at red 220, green 232, and blue 255. Gives me real pale blue. And then I'm going to create a label. I'm going to put the label inside that view. Now, if you're looking at the hierarchy, you'll notice the label is indented under the view. It's inside that view. So I could grab that view and move it, and the label would move with it. And for my label here, I'm going to type in Democrat with a colon. I'm actually going to make it right aligned. And to the right of that, I'm going to add a switch. And I'm using my cursor arrows just to kind of nudge it a little bit. Too much. And then I will select the label, hold down the Shift key, and select the switch. I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to position this one underneath. And all I'm going to do here is change the label to Republican. With a colon. And I'm going to paste one more, and this will be Other. And based on that, I'm going to shrink up my view just a little bit. Okay, let's take our Democrat label, our Republican label, and the two switches next to those. I'm going to copy those and paste, and we'll bring these over to the right. And I'm going to change the first label, that says Democrat, to Senate, and the second one to House. I'm going to copy one of those labels and paste and move it over to the right again. And this one's going to say state. And to the right of state, I'm going to add a text field. We're going to leave it blank. I'm going to bring the font up a little bit, though. If you want, you could actually put something in there. I'm going to type in AZ just so I can judge the font, at least initially. I'm going to have it centered in that text field. And for the font, I'm thinking let's bring it up to about a 20 point. And then you can get rid of the text. And then I'm going to add a button below the state. And I'm going to just give a different background color. And a different text color. And the text for our button is going to be show all. And let's make it a little bit bigger. Then I'm going to add a text view. And the text view is going to go below that view. I'm going to stretch it out. We're going to actually create two of them, but initially I'm going to create one large one. I'm going to leave some margin down here at the bottom. There'll be a control bar that will probably come up here to be able to access the keyboard. So I'm going to leave a little room there if I may raise up just a little bit more. I'm going to highlight through that lorem ipsum text, and I'm going to type S/H space state space party. And I'm doing this as all uppercase. Doesn't really matter. Space name. And again, I'm going to change the font here to something bigger, or larger, I should say. Maybe something about like that. Maybe let's go down 24 point. And if you're designing for the iPhone, you might want to change some of these measurements a little bit. I'm going to take that text box, and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to scroll this up. So it's just basically one line there. And I'm going to paste and take this second one and just position it right below. So the first one is going to be our headers. That's not going to change. This second text view, though, is going to be the results. And I'm going to take that first one and I'm going to set the, two things we need to do here. I want these to line up in nice columns. So actually, we're going to take both of these. Let's go to the font and let's change it from system to custom. And we need a monospace font where every letter is the same width. Whether it's an I or a W, it will take up the same width. And kind of the standard one there would be Courier. Courier or Courier New. I'm going to choose Courier. And then I'm going to up the size a little bit more again here. Let's go back down to about 24. And I'm going to select just the top text view, and let's set the font there as far as style to bold. So a nice thing also in a monospace font is the bold takes up the same amount of space as a regular as far as the width. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to take that top text view. It's not going to change, so I'm going to just shrink it as far as its width. And then I'm going to add another label to the right of that. I'm going to stretch it all the way over here to kind of where my right margin is. And for the text, I'm going to say showing 0 matches. And I'm going to give that a nice red color. And again, I'm going to up the font a little bit. I think probably 20 points. It doesn't need to be as big as our header. But I want to make this right aligned. And that should be our interface. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the iOS App Development Cohort playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I create, you can click my picture up in the top right and subscribe to the channel.